And Cole Battle's Cinderella story continue? Let's talk about it on this Spotlight series. Hi everyone, Matthew DeSantis here with NYRA Bets, here with a Kentucky Derby Spotlight series preview looking at Cole Battle. One of the coolest horses and easily one of the horses that you're going to find yourself rooting for in this year's field. But before we get to Cole Battle and Lonnie Briley and the wonderful connections, I want to remind you to press that like button and subscribe to NYRA Bets YouTube today. Subscribing is entirely free of cost, just notifies you when new videos drop on the channel, whether those are race previews, full card analyses, handicapping betting tutorials, weekly programs, live streams, and so much more. So press that like and subscribe button today. What are you doing? Press it now. I mean, if you care about the Kentucky Derby, the Triple Crown, Saratoga, the Breeders' Cup, hey, if you like those things, press the subscribe button. All right. Listen, let's talk about Cole Battle. One of the coolest horses in this year's Kentucky Derby. Very modest background, modest connections, started out in a modest spot for his career, and has somehow exceeded expectations every step of the way. Is probably one of, if not the most versatile horses in this year's field, and is a horse that you just can't help but fall in love with because of Lonnie Briley and those connections. So let's talk a little bit about Cole Battle. Trained by Lonnie Briley. Never had a Kentucky Derby horse before. Never had a horse at this level. And Lonnie's a lifer. He's been in this game for a long, long time. And he's one of the sweetest, most soft-spoken, pleasant people to see and interact with and listen to talk about his horses. Jockeyed by Juan Vargas. Not a big name. It's not Flavian Pratt. It's not Irad Ortiz Jr. It's not Jose Ortiz. It's not Joel Rosario. Okay? And what I love is that Lonnie Briley has stuck with Juan Vargas through all of this. Sometimes you'll see a horse suddenly jumps up and surprises, and that local jockey who rode him the first few times out gets replaced by a big name. That didn't happen with Lonnie, which I think speaks very highly of Lonnie and his relationship with Juan Vargas. Juan Vargas continues to ride this horse into the biggest race of his life in the Kentucky Derby. Modest beginnings. Why do I say that? Sired by Coal Front. Coal Front is standing, which means you can breed a mare to him for $2,500. Not that much money. For just a little bit more, you could, of course, get your horse sired by Into Mischief. Oh, that's only $250,000, not $2,500. So very modest sire fee there out of a midshipman mare. Now, that said, people are going to make a big deal, and I get it. He sold for $70,000 as a yearling. That's not nothing. You know, for a sire who stands for $2,500 to produce a $70,000 yearling is actually pretty good. I mean, as the breeder, you're probably very happy with that return on investment. You only paid $2,500 to breed your mare to this, to Coal Front, and now you're able to sell this yearling for $70,000. That's a nice return on investment. And he sold in the Texas sales, which again, this is not Fasig-Tipton, it's not Keeneland October, it's not the OBS sales down in Ocala. It's the Texas sales, admittedly. But he was also the 8th highest priced sale that year for the yearlings in Texas. I believe there was a Vacoma or maybe a Yopon or maybe a Practical Joke. It was one of those that sold for $110,000 at that sale. He sold for $70,000. A lot of horses, I believe the average sales price for that Texas sale, the year he sold in the Texas yearling sale, was $19,000. So he sold for well above average. This is not to say he's not a Cinderella story. He absolutely is. But it's to say that there was at least something there early on that people saw that, hey, this horse looks pretty nice. This horse has a good conformation. This horse is can move nicely. So there was always something there with Cole Battle. Listen, the pedigree at this point, you almost have to throw out the window because the horse has outrun his pedigree to this point. So how much does it really matter? It's hard to say. But he's shown the ability to run well in big stages. He won the Rebel Stakes. He won the Smarty Jones. He won the Springboard Mile. And he finished third in the Arkansas Derby. He more than belongs in this field, has as good of a resume as any horse in this field. So Cole Battle is a horse I love a lot. And he was my pick in the Arkansas Derby where he finished third. I thought he ran a really good race, probably moved a little too soon. Talk about that a little bit with Lonnie Briley and some of his comments here in a little bit. But let's talk about Cole Battle because he's a horse that does have a lot of things that handicappers like. He's got a solid 2-year-old foundation. He's running multiple graded stakes races, multiple races. He knows how to win. And here's what is so impressive about Cole Battle. Debuted, sloppy sealed track, won. Then he goes and runs in a pair of turf races. And it doesn't run terrible, but doesn't run great. Then they move him to the Jean Lafitte stakes at Delta Downs. Muddy sealed track, 6.5 furlongs, wins. Then they go to the Springboard Mile, fast track for the first time. Now we're running over a fast track, wins the Springboard Mile. Then goes to the Smarty Jones. Hey, now we're really stepping up. Another fast track at Oaklawn, wins. Then goes to the Rebel, grade 2, wins. Then goes to the Arkansas Derby and looms up and ultimately ends up flattening out and finished third behind Sandman and Publisher. Best speed figure was a 91. He needs to get faster than that. No two ways about it. 91 is not going to cut it. He needs to run at least a 99. That's what Mystic Dan ran last year to win. I would say that's kind of the lower bound expectation. He would probably need to take a big step up and run a 100-plus Beyer speed figure effort. Can he do it? Well, here's what's impressive about him. Look at his running lines. Look at his maiden victory. 9-horse field was sitting 6th and 4th, 3 lengths off the pace during the middle part of that, and then ended up winning. So it came from off the pace, could pass horses. Look at the Jean Lafitte. Was a 7-horse field sitting 5th by 4.5 lengths early, ends up passing a bunch of horses, winning easily late. Look at the Springboard Mile. Breaks from the inside rail and is 8th early and is able to pass a lot of horses and get the win. Then look at the Smarty Jones. Goes straight to the front in a 6-horse field and wires them, going 2 turns at Oaklawn Park. Then in the Rebel goes back to coming from off the pace, wins. And then in the Arkansas Derby, sits third early. Now, here's the thing. Sits third. That's important. Why? Because everybody else came from all the way in the back. And yes, he was far behind Speed King and Cornucopian, who were dueling, but he was the next closest to them. And whether it was Sandman, whether it was Publisher, those other horses that finished ahead of him that day, they came from much further back than he was. So they were further away from that pace, and he probably went a little too fast early. And Lonnie even said Juan probably moved him a little early as well. And he kind of made that initial move and then flattened out a little bit. So maybe we waited a little too long to move. Still earned an 88 Beyer, still earned a 3rd place finish in that grade 1 race. The other thing to point out is Lonnie Briley had said, I kind of took it easy on him leading up to the Arkansas Derby. I should have had one more work in him. He had even said before the race, he's a little on the muscle. He didn't necessarily love the way he looked going into that race. And like he said, he kind of took it easy on him a little bit leading up to that Arkansas Derby and would have probably ideally had one more work in him before that, but didn't do it. That's not going to be the case here. We're training right up to the Kentucky Derby. He's going to be fit as a fiddle for this race. And, he's a horse that just has tremendous versatility because if you go, well, there's a lot of rain forecast in Kentucky leading up to Derby Day. Derby Day looks beautiful, if not a little chilly, but Derby Day looks beautiful. But because it's chilly, maybe the track doesn't dry out quite as quickly from all the rain it gets over the last couple of days. Well, he can run over an off track. That's never been a problem for him. He can run over a fast track. He can sit from off the pace. He can sit close to the pace. He can set the pace if he wants to. Now, he's not going to do that in the Kentucky Derby. He's going to be sitting more mid-pack. I love a mid-pack trip for Cole Battle. I think him and Burnham Square are 2 horses that could sit really good trips and sit behind the speed, maybe even sit behind some of the trackers and sit in that 8th through 8, 9, 10. Somewhere around there, 8, 9, 10. If Cole Battle is sitting 8th to 11th, 7th to 11th, that's fantastic. I would say that's a great spot for him because I don't think he's as powerful as Sandman or Tistastic or Sovereignty or some of these horses coming from the back of the pack. But if he can have a 7-8 length jump on those horses to some extent, and maybe work out a little bit of an easier trip, not having to maybe go quite as wide, maybe not having to wait for something to open up, be able to make your own trip a little bit more. I just think there's something there. Like I said, he's going to need to get faster for sure. We know this, but there's a lot to like about Cole Battle. He's a cool horse. Like I said, $70,000 sale, sired by Cole Front, who I misspoke earlier, only stands for $2,000, not even $2,500, $2,000. You got to love the connections of Lonnie Briley and Juan Vargas. I think ultimately, probably not fast enough. I think on his best day, he could probably hit the super, maybe. But that would be under ideal circumstances. As much as it pains me, I probably will not be using him on any of my tickets. If he wins, I'll be thrilled to lose. I'll say that. Because there's not going to be a better story in the Kentucky Derby than Lonnie Briley and Cole Battle. So I like him a lot. He's got a ton of versatility. He can handle the track conditions. He can handle the pace scenario. He can handle the sort of trip he wants. And there's not many horses like that in this field. I think that's something that's really important to point out. That you look at the horses like East Avenue, Owen Almighty, Neo Equos, American Promise, Rodriguez, Citizen Bull. Those are 6 horses I just named off. They only know how to win one way, gate to wire. Okay? They've never, when they've tried to do other things, it hasn't worked out. And then you look at Sovereignty, Tistastic, Sandman, Chunk of Gold, Flying Gambit, or Final Gambit, Flying Mohawk. Okay, that's another 6 horses right there. They've only ever won one way as well, which is coming from all the way in the back. There's a very limited number of horses who have kind of done it a couple of ways, that can sit a few different types of trips, have enough speed to be tactical, but also have enough of a grinding style they can come running late. So there's plenty to like about Cole Battle as a horse. I just wonder if this might be a little too much for him in this particular field. Even though he's out on my ticket, I'll be rooting for him. So cannot wait. I'd love to hear your thoughts on Cole Battle. Do you like this horse? Are you going to be using him on your tickets? If so, let me know. Would love to hear about it. But listen, I'm going to bid you all adieu for this Spotlight series on Cole Battle, reminding you to press that like button and subscribe to NYRA Bets YouTube today. All right, friends, my name is Matthew DeSantis, wishing you a great and prosperous day at the races, and reminding you, friends, it's now post time.